Welcome here with me today on the German Watchmaking channel. What we have here on the bench today is a pretty old watch from the watch company Jaeger LeCoultre. And it's a military watch from the 1940s that has been with me for quite some time. And there is also a reason for that, because before I wanted to start servicing and restoring this watch, I thought I might need something like this. This is a Geiger counter, and during the times that this watch was produced, they still used radium luminescent material for the glowing lume material in the hands or on the dial. And this is quite dangerous if you work with it and you have no idea, and you are getting a big dosage of radioactive material on your hands or breathe it in. And here you can already see that we are exceeding the value of 1 microsievert per hour, which is already enough for this friendly device to give an alarm sound. So I'm putting the crystal back for now, and now I'm trying to open the case back, take out the movement, and this way remove the dial. I'll try to do it in a safe manner and then clean the hands from the radioactive material. But first we can have a look at this beautiful movement, and it's a real gem hidden in this dirty packaging. A wonderful color, and looks in great condition, to be honest. Taking out the stem here, and it looks pretty dirty as well. Loosening the case screws so the movement frees up in the case. And as written on the case back, we have to turn the movement in order to take it out. There are little grooves that show you where to place these screws. And then at this point we're able to lift it out of the case. I switched places here to a safer place outdoors, and I put on gloves to work with the radioactive material. And firstly here I'm putting them in isopropanol alcohol and seeing what is going on with the dial itself. And to my surprise, the dial looks actually fine. 0.2 microsievert per hour is not a value that is anything more than actually background radiation, background noise. And this means that this dial looks to be not radioactive. So the radioactivity seems to be held in the watch hands. I'm putting it away safely anyways, and now I'm starting to take out the lume from the hands. I'm doing this under a liquid, under the surface of isopropanol alcohol, so no dust particles or anything else can get into my airways. I wanted to be safe with this. It's not said that it's radium, but even tritium would not be nice to get in your airways. So now I'm looking at this case, and the glass, the crystal, is really destroyed. It has a crack in the bottom, also is super scratched, so I will replace it for sure. And this case definitely has seen some stuff. There's so much dirt and grime everywhere. And this disgusting gasket, dry as a cracker, but not as tasty. At least I think so. Well, someone is laughing in the background. Probably not because of my joke. The bars, the lug bars of this watch, one was spring-loaded, and pretty sure it came later. And one is I mean solid. And I'm not completely sure how I should proceed with it. I'm probably gonna put spring-loaded bars in both sides, which makes it easier. And here I can already turn my attention to the movement side, removing the balance. And at least here everything looks to be in good condition. For an 80-year-old caliber, I have to say it really is magnificent what craftsmanship and what kind of machinery they could offer at this time already. The pedal fork here also seems fine. And now we're taking out the second pinion, which was broken on the tip. And this here is the tool that I built to remove the drive wheel for the center second. I'm putting some paper here to protect the rest of the movement. Yeah, and that's why next time I'm probably gonna buy the Bergeron tool that is designed for this task especially. But I thought with a 50-cent flea market surgeon tool that I can modify, I would be able to pop it off, but it was not the cleanest way. Well, I didn't damage the wheel, and now I'm continuing already to take the train wheel bridge off to set free the train of wheels. And at least here as well, everything seems fine. There was not much space, not much wiggle room, and all the wheels look fine. Taking off the cannon pinion on the other side to set free the rest of the train of wheels here. And this means the barrel bridge is next on my list. One screw is laying there on the movement, that's it. All the screws are pretty long, and all in all, this movement seems pretty sturdy. It's almost like working on a pocket watch, which is pretty nice and simple, straightforward, no surprises. At least if you don't try to use cheap tools to do tasks the tools are not designed for. And here we are already on the other side of the movement and taking apart the keyless works. Intermission wheel. And this weird part, which is a combination between setting lever and setting lever spring. It's like combined. It's pretty cool. And yeah, here is a little cap jewel. Oh, nice little slide with a screwdriver. Will probably be visible in the end, but whatever. And yeah, on the right side you can already spot some rust. I'm gonna try to get rid of it as good as I can. But here I'm still trying to get out the jewels with some Rodico. And this is the underside of the barrel bridge where the crown wheel sits. And as you will see in a bit, the click spring is pretty interesting. The click mechanism in general. It's a long metal stick spring that is held in place with one screw. And you can lift it up here, as you can see, and slide it out. And this is then in the end connecting to the winding wheel that is sitting on top of the barrel. Pretty interesting mechanism. The church is playing in the background as I'm with a glass fiber pen trying to clean off some of the rust. And now still need to get out the mainspring. You saw me freeze there for a second because I didn't know if I lost my eyesight. pretty dangerous actually. But I guess that's the risk of the hobby. I'm cleaning the barrel assembly with a Q-tip, and now I will open up the shock setting of the balance, which is also pretty unique. And once I have removed the jewel, I can put all the parts in some baskets and then into the cleaning machine. And here we are already back to oiling the jewels for the balance assembly, which always looks so nice under the microscope and in the camera. And here is the backside, just dropping it in and placing this cover plate on top. And I will completely skip showing to screw down the screw. Whoop. And move on. Probably my head was in the way. Well, here you see how the one for the balance looks, and the oil is suspended right in the middle there. So opening the shock setting on the balance again, placing the jewel and giving the balance a little swing. I'll take off the balance again for safekeeping. And this awfully long screw. And then we can turn our sights to placing a new mainspring in the barrel. I'm often shaking this a little around to see if I'm really aligned correctly. And now pushing the new mainspring into the barrel. Took me a little longer this time here, but it aligns nice. I found the original mainspring that belongs to the movement. Drop off D5 there. And closing it up. Here the barrel bridge with a click is assembled again. Have to kind of align it perfectly. And then put the screw back that fits the click spring in place. Or the click spring, it's kind of combined. And this is the underplate for the crown wheel. Trying to oil everything as good as I can to reduce friction. I checked the barrel for end shake, and it seems fine, which is nice to see. And the line's very good. And maybe you can already spot the mistake while I'm screwing down the barrel bridge. But first, I'm gonna put together the train of wheels as if nothing happened at all. Which is super straightforward as well. Very nice. Most of the parts fall into place pretty good in this movement. It's a pleasure to work on and really refreshing to movements with tiny screws and all kinds of different parts. And here you have all in all, not more than 50 parts, and that's it. Including the screws. So the train of wheels here comes together pretty nicely, but not too long before I realized that even with a simple movement, mistakes can happen, and so I have to, take something apart again. Took off the barrel bridge again. I thought that the setting lever screw would fit after the barrel bridge was installed because of this opening in the barrel bridge, but it was not the case. There was a little step, and so I had to take an extra step, but I wanted to include it in this video. And here the keyless comes together already. Sliding and the winding pinion are getting greased up, and the stem with the crown already put in place. Here we have setting lever, and it can be fastened with a screw on the other side and the spring put in place. Obviously, all the wheels on this side are getting lubricated as well. And the jewels. And the cannon pinion is getting clicked into place. And this means we're already almost done with this side. Just a few more screws. And I can oil the balance side of the movement. Trend of wheels is getting oiled with thin synthetic oil. And the pallet fork can also be set in place. Pretty interesting pallet fork bridge. Swinging off to the side there. Made it a little difficult, but there you see. Now it is in place. And carefully seeing if really both pinions are engaging until I'm putting the screw. So the driving wheel for the center second is getting pressed like hands, and here is the new part that I bought. Is the second pinion. And it took me quite a while to find it online for a reasonable price. I didn't want to pay 120 euros as some people ask for it on eBay. In the end, I managed to get it for 20 euros on a French site. Shout out to Passion Chrono. Obviously, I'm not sponsored, but it was nice to find the part for this kind of price. And this is the spring that is holding the second pinion down. A little spoiler alert. I was not able to source the original second hand. It's super hard to find. There are some other watches from Longines from this time, in the 1940s, that use similar or maybe actually the same second hand. But to find really the exact right one is super difficult. Here I'm already placing the balance back in the movement, and it starts running right away, which is super nice. The best feeling in the end of a service restoration of a watch, to see it spring back to life. And after giving it a little wind and placing it on the time grapher, I can turn my attention to the case, which for sure also needs some work. The case back's pretty scratched up, and the side here as well. Now that this is done, I will also put new luminescent material into the watch hands. What you can see here is the lume from Bergeon in green, and the cleaned and emptied hands are on the side. And now I'm trying to suspend the lume in the watch hands, and the surface tension will then keep it there to dry. And it's quite important to hit the right viscosity when you mix the glue with the colorful powder, so the color is not dripping out. Here now the final touches on the dial side, where the hour wheel can come back into place. So then we can clean up a little and get the dial back on the watch. I didn't do much to the dial, just a little bit of cleaning with water, but you don't want to overtouch it and ruin the patina. On one side it's sad that the 12 o'clock hour marker is not really visible anymore, but on the other side it tells something about the history of the watch, and I find it unique and pretty beautiful. The dial screws are tightened and the dial sits pretty flat on the movement. And here the freshly lumed hands can be pressed back on. Hour hand, and now the minute hand. Just needs a little bit more of a touch here. And if this is sitting good, then I can put the second hand that I sourced. I think it's fitting amazingly with this red arrow in the front. Looks like it's right made for this watch. And I did this on a hard surface in order to press it down with a little counterpoint on the other side, since the second pinion is just held by the spring. And if you would press it, it would just escape, if you know what I mean. Now I'm taking out the stem in order to put the freshly polished watch case back on. I also put a crystal apparently already. And now, same as before, the movement has to be turned to the right position in order for it to fall in place. And then the screws are actually not tightened, but screwed out, and thus pressing up against the case. And here we have a gasket for the case back, which is at least gonna help a little bit with making this watch water resistant. And yeah, with this done, the case back can be snapped on, and as I said before, I'm putting in fresh spring bars and a fresh green NATO strap, which in my opinion fits the design the best. And here you can hear it's nicely winding, setting the time, and we got this one back into working order. I mean, who knows what this watch has seen? Definitely a long history. And maybe now, after all these years of laying around, stripped of his second's hand, and with a cracked crystal, it can find its way back on the wrist of someone who will enjoy it. Bye, bonga.